The death toll from cholera and starvation grows among refugees from Rwanda as U.S. military experts reach the scene to gear up for airdrops of food and medicine. This is the CBS Evening News. And this is Bob Schieffer reporting. Good evening. The United States hopes to begin parachuting food as early as tomorrow to the hundreds of thousands of refugees from Rwanda who are now massed along the border with Zaire. And water purification units are on the way, but they can't get there soon enough. Over the last 4 days alone, more than 7,000 people have died of cholera, and the epidemic is now spreading in what may become the most desperate human plight in modern history. CBS News health correspondent Bob Arnott has been in the area all week and has our first report, and we should tell you it does contain very graphic scenes.
Death is everywhere in Goma. The stench fills the air. Bodies rot in mass graves. 7,000 people have died from a cholera outbreak in just 4 days. Outbreaks like these normally last 3 weeks. At the Muniki refugee camp outside Goma, the dying have overwhelmed the doctors. One observer said there was no way to keep count because someone dies every minute. A UN official said the only part of the relief effort working efficiently are the burials. Cholera has claimed another victim. For most, there appears to be no escape. Some did try to escape to their homes inside Rwanda, but they were beaten back on the Zaire side of the border. They beat everyone, the young and old, mother and son. Families rushed to gather belongings. Transport planes roared overhead. Some plea for understanding. This man says he just wants to go home.
As the day-long tension continues to mount and an angry crowd of over 1,000 refugees inches its way down this road, French soldiers have arrived to clear the road of weapons, ammunition, and explosive grenades that block the way back to Rwanda.
Moving cautiously, the French pick through the weapons, sorting out the most dangerous. The government of Zaire says the refugees won't be allowed to return home until the road is cleared all the way down into Rwanda. Food was delivered to some camps today. For many children, it marked their first meal in days. Fresh water supplies were also brought in. But the United Nations announced today the repeated requests for immediate help in setting up sanitation systems have been totally ignored. A small deployment of American troops arrived today to help begin what some call a long overdue massive relief effort. But they came armed only with good intentions. As bodies were thrown almost routinely into the mass graves, refugee experts asked why it took the deaths of so many Africans before most of the international community decided to care. Dr. Bob Arnott, CBS News, Goma, Zaire.
One of the members of the American military contingent that arrived in Goma, Zaire today is Major Guy Shields, originally of Bloomington, Minnesota. And Major, I suppose the first question people would ask after seeing the pictures that we've just seen in Dr. Bob Arnott's report is, where do you possibly begin?
Well, our first order of business was to immediately get with all the relief organizations here, find out what they were doing and what they needed from us. We've already been working for the last few hours, working with the UN people, primarily on water. Water is one of the key issues right now.
And water purification is the #1 problem right now, I take it?
Right, working with the UN folks right now, and tomorrow morning we have another team going out with the UN folks and the other relief agencies to look at some of the potential water supply sites that we can use. And then we've got equipment that can help purify, and then we also have units that can help transport the water. So all these recommendations, all these things, we'll make recommendations back to our headquarters in Stuttgart, and they'll make some decisions on what units, what types of equipment we need to get down here.
What are your personal impressions thus far? I mean, the pictures we're seeing on television are shocking, is too mild a word to describe them. It must be even worse to see it in person.
Well, it's a tragic situation, and we're here to do everything we can to help the aid agencies get the supplies to the people that need it.
All right, Major. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
After the experience in Somalia, where American troops died when their role shifted from a humanitarian mission to one of restoring order, the administration put new restrictions on deploying its forces overseas. But once the disaster in Rwanda reached such staggering proportions, several relief agencies accused the administration of making it worse by moving too slowly. So just one day after announcing a $100 million relief effort, the president found himself on the defensive. Bob Fall now with more on that.
Arriving this morning in Hot Springs, Arkansas, President Clinton denied the 11th hour relief efforts are too little, too late. We're doing as much as we can, he said.
I'm confident we've been working since May, and I have done all I knew to do. When the crisis is past, if somebody can think of something else I should have done, there'll be time then to assess that.
Even before the president spoke, Air Force personnel assembled at Fort McGuire Air Force Base in New Jersey. Destination Rwanda, to help deliver food. In Pittsburgh, World Vision, a private relief agency, readied supplies and medicine. From Virginia, the Reverend Pat Robertson sent a medical team and a plane load of material.
So what is the monitor doing?
And in Nyack, New York, Dr. Bobby McGuffey, who's already donated her expertise in Somalia and other trouble spots, made the rounds in a local hospital and got ready to head off again to Rwanda.
I can't see what's going on and see what's happening to the children in the world, and I can't work happily here when something like this is going on.
Right now, we really need contributions.
Phone banks here and elsewhere receive donations throughout the day, sometimes in generous amounts, but they are hardly enough. According to AmeriCare's Drew Hanna, who is just back from a distribution center in Zaire.
There's just no way enough food, enough medicine, enough shelter materials, and personal warmth materials can be brought into this area quick enough to save all of these people.
So much effort, goodwill, and material, and all of it overwhelmed by the dying. Bob Fall, CBS News, New York.
In West Africa, soldiers in the country of Gambia seized power today in an apparent bloodless coup. Gambia's elected president has taken refuge on a U.S. Navy ship that was visiting on a training mission. The mutinous soldiers have sealed Gambia's borders. Still to come on tonight's CBS Evening News, the Hillary Rodham Clinton healthcare caravan rolls on, and the legacy of notorious double agent Kim Philby goes to the highest bidder. Okay. Are you there, Mr. Frank?
I am.
Good. We'll be coming right up.
Okay.
You see those pictures? Isn't that all?
It's mind destroying.
Okay. Never mind. The Clinton White House continued to fight today for its health care reform plan, even though no one's quite sure what's left of it, as congressional Democrats rush to rewrite their own version of it. Linda Tyra has the story.
On the road today in Seattle, First Lady Hillary Rodham Clinton continued to campaign for health insurance for every American, even though virtually all in Congress say the Clinton plan for universal coverage is dead.
We know what the right thing to do is. 70 to 80% of Americans know we need health care reform paid for with employers and employees contributing to make sure every single American is insured.
In his weekly radio address, President Clinton said he'll hold his ground on universal coverage and urged the public to stick with him.
Still, at this moment of decision, you're going to be bombarded with a last-ditch special interest media blizzard aimed at derailing reform and frightening you.
But Democratic leaders are struggling to craft new bills to keep universal coverage intact on a slower schedule and with less of the costs borne by employers.
I think they do not have the votes right now. That doesn't mean that they will not have the votes when they need them. It does mean that it's looking pretty grim.
They'll try to cobble something together. They say it's going to be less bureaucratic, more voluntary, phased in. It sounds like they're already having difficulties.
Democratic leaders want their bills voted on before the congressional recess in August. Top Republicans are demanding more time. But with congressional elections just months away, the window of opportunity on health care is rapidly closing. Linda Tyrus, CBS News, Washington.
The question, did Treasury officials tip off the White House when they learned federal regulators were conducting an investigation that might prove embarrassing for the president and his wife? That is the focus of the congressional hearings that open next week on the Whitewater affair, which takes its name, of course, from the controversial Arkansas land investment that Mr. and Mrs. Clinton made before he became president. The president is in Hot Springs, Arkansas today for his high school reunion, and when reporters asked him what he thought of the hearings and what they would reveal, he said in so many words, nothing.
I think the American people are going to wonder why the Congress is spending so much time and money on something that's already been looked into in great detail, excruciating detail, at great cost to the taxpayers with a special counsel. But if they want to do it, that's fine. We'll cooperate just as we have with the special counsel.
President Clinton in Little Rock today. One of the ranking Democrats on the committee that is looking into all of this is Massachusetts Democrat Barney Frank, who joins us now from our Washington bureau. Congressman, do you think, from what you know of it so far, that these hearings are going to prove embarrassing to the president?
No, I think you already have the Republicans, frankly, apologizing in advance because they will come up with so little. What the hearings will show, I believe, is the truth, and it is that every time there was a decision to be made by Clinton administration officials or by the Democratic majority in the Congress, we made the decision to go forward with the investigation. We extended the statute of limitations. A criminal referral that was never made under the Bush administration was in fact made under the Clinton administration, not about the president, but about this incident. We appointed an independent counsel, the White House did, with the broadest mandate any independent counsel has ever had. The president, in fact, had one of his big political enemies, Jay Stevens, who had been fired as U.S. attorney and was very bitter about that and was trying to run for the Senate. He was named to investigate this by the RTC. So there will be no showing that anybody at any point interfered with the fullest possible investigation.
Well, do you think the hearings will bring out, though, that perhaps officials at the Treasury Department and the White House were not as candid as they might have been? There are leaks today in both the New York Times and the Washington Post that suggest there were many contacts between Treasury officials who were supervising the regulatory people investigating this and the White House staff.
Yes, people talked to each other, and nobody at any point interfered with anything. There were conversations where people said, I think you should know that the press is asking about this. So the question is, should the people in the White House have known less than the press did? Members of Congress were being told that. And some people, frankly, did overreact. They said, oh, my God, maybe I shouldn't have said anything. And so they weren't as explicit as they should have been about the contacts. But if you look at the underlying contacts, there was nothing the matter with it. People who were surprised at the Treasury officials, they did two things. First of all, the people running the RTC allowed that criminal referral to go forward. They let that investigation go forward. Then they said to the White House, by the way, you should know that a criminal investigation has gone forward and you're going to get asked about it. Anybody who is surprised at that probably ought to be a Simpson juror, because they're people who don't know anything.
Well, now, one thing that came out this week, you revealed that one Treasury official had kept a diary throughout all of this, and one of the things he talked about in the diary was that Mrs. Clinton was very upset, and I think your words were all over the lot about federal investigators looking into all of this. What was that all about? And
my words were that she was unhappy that there were some conversations about there being a total investigation of everything that had ever happened, all their privacy and family matters could be gone into. And again, I don't know why anyone is surprised at that. I am surprised that Roger Altman had a diary. I think to have been writing some of these things down was kind of silly, but nothing in it is damaging. People should not be surprised that Mrs. Clinton was a little bit upset at what was going on.
But what you're saying here is that she, in your view, didn't do anything to stop this investigation.
The one question was she was concerned about the scope of the independent counsel. Robert Fisk, a Republican who was appointed independent counsel, a man who was appointed by Republicans to high-ranking justice positions, has been given the broadest possible charter of any independent counsel. Nobody has prevented him from investigating anything. Yes, people said, oh, I wish some of this wasn't happening, and in fact, at the same time, they were making sure it happened.
All right, we have to stop there. Thank you very much, Congressman Frank. One programming note, White House counsel Lloyd Cutler, who's been conducting his own investigation on this, will be the administration's opening witness at the Whitewater hearings. He'll be our guest tomorrow on the CBS broadcast Face the Nation. Space Shuttle Columbia, with its 7 astronauts, is back on Earth, making a smooth sunrise landing at Florida's Kennedy Space Center early this morning. Bad weather delayed the return by a day, turning the mission into America's longest shuttle flight ever, 14 days and 18 hours. The reward grew today for information that might exonerate O.J. Simpson of charges he murdered his ex-wife and her friend. A businessman added $250,000 to the pot. But rewards don't always have the intended effect, and we have a report from Bill Whitaker.
New Jersey millionaire Bernard Gimbel's offer brings the total reward now to $750,000. The huge reward has caught the attention of press and public.
Crime Stoppers International.
But may never catch the killer. Crime Stoppers has solved almost 500,000 crimes with rewards of no more than $1,000.
It's been our experience that big rewards don't work for a variety of reasons. First of all, I think that it brings forward people who are not motivated by truthfulness, and brings forward people who want the money.
34-year-old Laurie Miles was gunned down outside her daughter's Bible study class in suburban Los Angeles last September.
I am really through with the grief, but I do want the justice.
But a $32,500 reward has brought no information. L.A. County has file after file of unclaimed rewards in murder cases.
My own personal feeling is that if somebody's going to come forward with some information, they're going to do it whether a reward's offered or not.
So this case may rest on the evidence in hand. The contents of the mystery envelope are not a mystery to newly assigned Judge Lance Ito. He was the one who ordered it sealed. Monday, he will decide whether the defense can have crime scene blood samples to conduct its own tests. Prosecutors delivered samples to a Maryland lab this week for controversial DNA testing.
These DNA laboratories ought to routinely split samples and analyze them in duplicate in order to catch errors.
We know that these laboratories have an error rate.
Both sides are likely to tussle over DNA tests right through the trial, but neither side is pinning its hopes on that alone. The newly hired chief investigator for the defense was out at Simpson's estate today searching for more evidence. Bill Whitaker, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Federal government this week gave a $15 million grant to a city that has taken some creative steps toward solving the problem of the homeless. The program is publicly funded, privately run, and very successful. Diana Gonzalez has our report.
Americans without homes, without needs. On any given night, 500,000 seek refuge in shelters. Countless others roam the streets.
I think this represents a sort of visible symbol of the decline in the American quality of life.
Miami has come up with an innovative program for dealing with the problem of homelessness, a program the federal government has rewarded and hailed as a model for the rest of the nation.
No other community in the nation can say that they have a fund dedicated specifically for homeless programs.
The fund comes from a penny tax on large restaurants. That's $6 million a year going solely to the homeless. In another unique move, the city then turns over those public monies to a private organization, which has devised a step-by-step game plan.
This is not a welfare hotel.
Pat Pepper directs the Community Partnership for Homeless, which has designed plans for a housing complex that goes beyond a typical shelter.
This is on 2.6 acres. It's a series of buildings that are residences. Allows people to come in on an emergency basis, get a medical checkup, case management, and even get their educational level assessed.
Then the homeless will be referred to primary shelters according to their specific needs.
He then comes, if he is an addict or an alcoholic, to a better way for 6 months of intensive treatment.
The only thing that they asked me, do you want help? And I told them, yes, I did, because at that point I had nothing else to go to.
Now Albert works at Better Way, helping others like him realize they do have choices.
I really believe I'm on the right track, but I'm just focusing on today. I don't even want to think about tomorrow because tomorrow's not here yet.
Rehabilitation is the goal of Miami's program, which hopes to get 60 to 70% of the homeless off the streets and back to work, contributing to a community that has chosen to make an investment in them. Diana Gonzalez, CBS News, Miami.
The late British spy master Kim Philby supplied Moscow with U.S. and British secrets during the height of the Cold War. Well, now his personal effects have been auctioned off for cold cash to support his Russian widow. Barry Peterson has the story.
£900 seated at the back, 900 against you, 950.
In a Sotheby's back room where bookworms bid for dust-covered first editions, sorted British history on the block this week.
£1,100, your bid, 1,100. Thank you.
I'm debarred by the Official Secrets Act.
from saying anything.
Kim Philby, spy and traitor. His love affair with communism started at Cambridge. His brilliance made him a star of the British Secret Service, allegedly serving his country while really supplying the KGB. His gentlemanly ways masked a terrible betrayal. Decades of British spies blown, tortured, killed. Posted in Washington in the late 40s, what he slipped the Soviets cost thousands of American lives in the Korean War. In the 60s, he fled to Moscow, there inspiring a new generation of young Soviet spies.
For the young intelligence officer in his 20s to meet a man of his stature, almost a legend, living legend like Kim Philby, that was in itself a major educational process.
His death in 1988 was financial ruin for his Russian wife. Packing up his books, notes, old briefcase, 10 plated awards from the KGB, she said, sell it to the highest bidder.
Minor premise, confession is giving information to the enemy. Conclusion, therefore confession is wrong.
Peter Selle studied Philby and the notes he left.
He also, betrayed friends. He exchanged wives. He had affairs with other people's wives, and it was part of his nature, I think, to thrive on betrayal.
The auction made more than $200,000. The communist bought Philby with idealism. Using hard cold cash, the capitalist bought him back. Barry Peterson, CBS News, London.
And that's the news. Tomorrow on Sunday morning, a look at how our cities and towns are reclaiming their waterfronts, and we'll see you on Face the Nation. Bob Schieffer, CBS News in New York.